Mara, how did you move it? Okay, so this is a graph that shows around the last month the number of PCR and institutional antigen tests taken. At the beginning of the pandemic, only PCR tests were valid for diagnosis. Later on, also antigen supervised tests were approved because so people took it more. It's easier, faster, and cheaper. Okay, so a very interesting group of people. Now I'll move to the pandemic in Palestine. These were the Palestinian workers. According to the International Labour Organization, through to September 2020, in Palestine, in Israel, there were 134,000 Palestinian workers in Israeli labor market, which is around 13.2% of the Palestinian workers. That's a big percentage. So these workers had a special situation because of the disparity of the spread of the virus between Israel and Palestine. At the beginning, Israel feared that the Palestinian workers would be a source of spreading the infection. But as time went by, and it was obvious that number of cases was much higher in Israel than in Palestine, Israel indicated that it needed the Palestinian workers who work in manufacturing, in agriculture and construction to keep their workplaces, leave the West Bank, go to Israel for at least 1 month before the date of the 22nd of March 2020, and stay there for at least 1 month without commuting. And both Israel and Palestine agreed that Israel would provide accommodation and decent living conditions for these workers. But few days later, as one of these workers, or few, started developing the symptoms of the infection, Israel left them on one of the checkpoints, and meanwhile, it wasn't really providing good conditions for the workers. Some of them were even sleeping on the streets. So the Palestinian Prime Minister called upon the workers to leave the work, come back to the West Bank, stay for quarantine for 2 weeks. It was still 2 weeks then rejoin their families. And it wasn't talking still about vaccination then. So the first case of COVID-19 was diagnosed in Bethlehem on the 5th of March 2020. In the Gaza Strip on the 21st of March 2020, I believe there were 2 cases in the beginning. And in Hebron, the spread of the virus was very rapid. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so this is a graph from the official website of the Ministry of Health of Palestine. What's interesting also here, I think it's also expected that more cases of male being diseased from the virus, like in Israel, in all the cities. That's maybe because they commute more and they go to work more than the ladies. And this graph is from the Worldometer website. It shows the number of cases in Palestine from the beginning of the pandemic until the first week of this month. So at any point of the graph, you can put, and it will show you the number of cases up until that date. And if we see all the cases until this month, it doesn't pass the 1 million cases in Palestine. The last I've checked was 2 days ago in Israel, where there were 4.13 million confirmed cases. And what I mean by case, I don't mean like people having the infection, because one person can have the infection twice. So these are cases confirmed. And that can be for many reasons. Maybe because the Palestinian people are more restricted in smaller area. They do not go out a lot and they do not interact as much with other people. So maybe that can be one of the reasons why there are less cases in Palestine. Okay. So this is a health map. It shows the number of cases per area. We see the high number of cases in Nablus, in Bethlehem, in Gaza. Maybe you cannot see there. This is true for February 2022. We can see 2,550 cases in Gaza, and in Hebron around above even 1,000 cases. So as the city of Hebron was trying to contain the spread of the virus, there were restrictions and obstacles. Because on the, I don't want to say the date wrong, sorry, many dates are. On the 21st of July 2020, the Israeli authorities totally demolished this quarantine center in Hebron. It's a 700 quarantine center in the city. And locals said that the Israeli authorities claim that it doesn't have building construction permit, so it was demolished. Also, in the Gaza Strip, there were other demolitions on the 18th of May 2021, almost total destruction of El Shawa Primary Care Clinic, and substantial damage to Rimal Clinic in Gaza, the only major COVID-19 testing laboratory in the Gaza Strip, was also demolished. So, the vaccinations in Palestine. There was a dispute over vaccination, over responsibility of vaccinating the Palestinian population. The UN said that decreased access of the COVID vaccine is morally and legally unacceptable according to international law laid out by the Geneva Convention for the Occupied People. Because the Geneva Convention, according to it, an occupying power is responsible for the health of the occupied people. But those who differ say that according to the Oslo Accords, the responsibility of vaccinating the Palestinian population lies upon solely upon the Palestinian authorities. So, and Israel's official, they did not choose to be the keeper. Their position was that they are under no legal obligation to provide vaccines to the Palestinian people. But in order to save its interests, Israel saw it was important to vaccinate the Palestinian workers. So in February 2021, it said that it was going to vaccinate from 100 to 120,000 Palestinian workers, and that took place in March. They vaccinated around 50,000 Palestinian workers. But Palestine did get vaccinations. The first 2,000 shots of the vaccines arrived from the Sputnik V Russian vaccine, and it was aimed to the health personnel as the front line. So it was divided in half, 1,000 to the West Bank and 1,000 vaccines to the Gaza Strip. But the 1,000 vaccines of the Gaza Strip arrived on the 15th of February 2021, but the transit was blocked by Israeli border officials. The authority of such shipments ultimately lies with the Israeli Prime Minister Office Unit dealing with national security. And officials said that delay of the passage of the vaccine was due to the fact that the issue was still under view. Why do I say that? Okay. It's because there's something called the vaccine cold chain. It takes a chain of precisely coordinated events in temperature-controlled environments to store and manage the transport of the vaccines. This is called the cold chain, and the vaccines must be continuously stored in a limited temperature range from the time they are manufactured until the moment of the vaccination. So even 5 hours or 7 hours of delaying getting the vaccines can damage some of the vaccines and waste them, basically. But they eventually reach on the 17th of February 2021. This is still considered a delay. So, the COVAX facility. Meanwhile, because, the Palestinian population have the right to get vaccinated, the Palestinian Authority signed up for the UN and WHO-backed Gavi program through the COVAX facility, which is called by the CIPI. It is the Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovation, The WHO working with the partnership with the UNICEF as its key implementing partner. The Gavi is a global alliance for vaccine and immunization, which is a global health partnership with the goal of increasing access of immunization to poor countries. So many of the vaccines that Palestine got were through the COVAX facility. I will go through just some numbers. On the 17th of March 2021, the UNICEF delivered 61,440 doses, 37,440 were from the Pfizer, of the Pfizer vaccine, and 24,000 were the AstraZeneca's. On the 29th of March 2021, Palestine received 100,000 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine from China, which was the biggest single single shipment that Palestine got of the vaccines. And according to the WHO, as of the 15th of April 2021, 223,000 vaccines were delivered to the West Bank and 300 to the Gaza Strip. This is a graph from the Oxford University website, and it shows the situation of the vaccines up until the 19th of May 2022. And we see that people who, around 2 million people, got at least one dose. Those who are fully dosed were around 1.7 million. And those who got a booster were less than 1 million. Even less than 500,000. The WHO comes out with a monthly situation report of the whole situation, whether it be health map, people vaccinated or confirmed cases, and we see this is for the month of February 2022. We see that around 2 million people vaccinated, as that graph showed, 1.7 fully vaccinated, and those who got the booster were around the 300,000 people. And this graph shows, it's a distribution graph of confirmed cases by age group in Palestine. The highest number of cases were in the age group of 20 to 29, followed by age 30 to 39, followed by 10 to 19. So these are the younger people who are more active, who go out to work and whatnot. Okay, I will skip this. So in conclusion, the pandemic imposes health and economic burdens, among many other burdens, on countries affected by it. But as for the occupied people, these burdens seem to be heavier. And the process of healing from them and the rehab takes much longer. So thank you for listening.
We're going to have a Q&A for like 30 minutes. But before having the Q&A, I just wanted to reflect on the messages that has been delivered to us through the speakers since the morning. And all of them are very powerful messages to fulfill the mission of God, of being brave and stepping out of the comfort zone, or to be brave and to be supporter to our sisters and brothers. Messages of hope, messages of that despite the injustice that has been taking place in this land, we're actually very committed to see the light. And as I'm sitting there and listening to my friends and speakers with the empowering messages about identity and about how to find yourself as a Palestinian Christian, and to find solidarity with our African American brothers and sisters. There is a line by Amanda Gorman, the African American poet, who wrote The Hill We Climb. She says, "For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. if only we're brave enough to be it. And this message has been reoccurring in my mind, that despite this very stressful weekend, speaking as a person who works in security policy, I know that there's a lot of escalations we've been talking about escalations for the whole month of May. This weekend, these messages, those people, gives a lot of comfort and a lot of hope. And thank you for encouraging us to stay resilient. And now for the questions. Yeah, Anthony will give you the mic, and I will give the mics to my friends here.
Hello, I'm Roseanne from South Africa. Thank you both for incredible presentations, very moving. Dr. Yara, I just wanted to ask you a question. It's a very simple one. Just you mentioned that the numbers of infections in Palestine are so significantly lower than those reported than those in Israel. Could it be that there's a discrepancy in the testing, either availability or willingness or financial ability to pay to be tested?
Yes, that's very true. I was going to say that, but I just decided to skip on some information. But yeah, one of the reasons, I think also that is these tests cost money. Especially the PCR tests, whether it be buying them or laboratory, having people work in the labs. So yes, I also think that many cases maybe in Palestine were not diagnosed due to that reason. So yeah, I agree.
This time I'll take it.
Thank you both so much for these presentations. I've been so excited that young women are talking at this conference, and you guys were amazing. I have a question for Mara, and I was just kind of dwelling on why, as some women, especially the older generations, why do they act as gatekeepers? And you kind of talked about Ruth as like she was also a victim, and I guess there is a sense of fear, but I wonder also if there's some kind of, because they're comfortable and they're privileged, in comparison to younger generations, that there might be a kind of dynamic there. And then a kind of second question, how do we kind of encourage them to see that the patriarchy is the problem, not the generational shift? How do we get them on board with our vision? It was a great presentation, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I honestly think some women do it consciously and some do it unconsciously. And I don't want to be blaming people here, because that's not the purpose. I think when you worked so hard to get to where you are, many times the first instinct is to just keep yourself safe. Many times it needs like a mental shift to think that offering help or giving yourself to others is actually something that would make you both win, rather than it's a competition between who gets the spotlight. But it's also like a systemic problem, because we don't have the opportunities, like we're not allowed to even walk in the calling that we have for our lives. So it's both these things, I think. How we can make it change? I think we are changing it. Like, for instance, we got to speak today, but it's a longer process, I think. because it's, I don't know how to say this correctly. Also, as young women, we have to understand what the older generation have gone through. We can't live their life. I don't know what they have gone through. So there's a communication that needs to happen and be established between the generations. But what we bring also challenges the older generation. So there will be a challenge between the generations. I don't have the exact answer, but maybe that answers some of your question.
The question was not for me, but like, as you said, but I think that we as like younger women, we are more privileged. Like they didn't have the opportunities of education. Sometimes I look at older women, I think like, I wonder if she got the opportunity to study, what would she study like? And many of them share with me like, you know, I was very good at school, but I didn't get a chance to go study. I wanted to be, I don't know, a lawyer or, I don't know, scientist. So I think we are privileged, like, to speak more on the positive side. And yeah, that's, I just want to say that.
We'll take one more question,
Yeah.
maybe? One more question. Should I ask her?
Just a very quick question to Dr. Yara. Was there much fear of having vaccinations, vaccine hesitancy, especially here in Palestine?
I didn't hear you very well. Can
Sorry.
you repeat the question?
Was there much fear? Were people fearful of having the vaccination for COVID here in Palestine?
Was it fair? Fear. In Palestine. Okay. You know, because I didn't want to exceed my time, some things I didn't say, but I'm very glad you were asking these questions. You know, at one point, Israel agreed, there was an agreement that Israel would give 1 million vaccines of the Pfizer, BioNTech, but they delivered it later than it was agreed. And because of that cold chain that I explained about, many people feared of getting it, but it wasn't given because the health minister, Mayil Kili, I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name right. Yes. She canceled the agreement because of that delay. So yeah, there were challenges, like a lot of, like for me as an Israeli citizen, I would just go get it without any question. But here they also, even when they get the vaccine, they still have like limitations and more things to fear, as you said.
Okay. From what I saw, especially on social media, many people thought that this was a conspiracy theory. Like we also had this here. And they refused to take the vaccine just because of like, I don't know, conspiracy theories of 5G and like people will control you once you have the vaccine, things like that, yeah.
But we must say that there is no such like a big scene as anti-vaccination in Palestine, nor in Israel as much as the rest of the world. We're very obedient citizens, as you can see. It's our specialty.
And I know there was like a big dispute in the States over putting yes masks, no masks, but in Israel, at least I can say, because I didn't live my daily life in Palestine, but I can say for Israel that everybody put the vaccine, masks on, so we didn't have that problem.
Okay, no mic. My voice is loud enough. Okay. I want to thank Marah and Yara for giving us such incredible and informative sessions. We want to thank you, and Yusuf is going to hand the gift. For the announcement, your lunch boxes are ready at the reception. Feel free to go. As I said before, it's up to you whether to eat it now before you head to your field trip or to take it with you. And you're coming back for dinner at 6. And from there, we have live music and we have another powerful sessions. And just another reminder, we have the concert at 9 today. And yeah,
And when you come back, the gift shop will be open during the dinner and a little after the dinner. So you can browse through the aisles. By the way, just the last note, tomorrow evening, the young adults, the whole team of the young adults will be around. So you'll get a chance to meet them. And we will mostly be at the kitchen. So for dinner, you can catch up with the young adults, Marah or the other members of the team. Okay? Enjoy your trip. Enjoy your lunch.